Hello everyone and welcome to my beginner's guide to Riichi Mahjong. My name is Pufik. I don't know how you stumbled upon here, whether you knew me already and just want to see what the hell is going on in my Mahjong series that I'll be doing, or am I already doing, if you're watching a little bit later in the future, or you just want to know a little bit what's going on when I stream Mahjong. Or if you just stumbled upon this randomly and you just started playing a Yakuza game and you realized, oh my god, in order to 100% it, I need to learn this weird, obscure game. Whatever your path is, welcome. I will teach you the very basics on how to play, how I started playing. And yes, only the basics, because this game is incredibly complex, and if we were to go like over every single rule, we would probably be here for like 2 hours. So I'll just give you the very basics so you know what's going on when I play Mahjong, or if you want to dabble a little bit into it yourself. This is how I started. I didn't know much, so it's gonna get you somewhere, okay? It's gonna get you started, basically. It's like a starter pack, this video. So, let's get into it. Riichi Mahjong, or any sort of form of Mahjong, is played with Mahjong tiles. I'm gonna be using a little bit of an analogy with poker, because sometimes Mahjong is called, Riichi Mahjong specifically, is called like Japanese poker, which, yes, it is similar in some ways, but also completely different in other ways. But I'll be gonna be using some analogies because I feel that more people know poker, and I think it's gonna be a little bit easier to transition into this. Mahjong tiles are separated into 3 suits, alright? Like in poker you have 4 suits, in Mahjong you only have 3 suits. You have the Man suit, or so-called the character suit. You have the Pin suit, also known as the circle suit, and you have the Sword suit, also known as the bamboo suit. And every single suit has tiles ranging from 1 to 9. In addition to those, there's also the honor tiles, what they're called. There's the winds, separated by the direction of the wind, east, south, west, and the north. And then there's the dragon tiles, being white, green, and red. Very important to note, there are 4 copies of each tile in the game, okay? Only 4 of them, which is gonna be very useful a little bit later once we actually get a little bit more into it. So, your goal in a Riichi Mahjong is to form a winning hand. How does a winning hand look like? A winning hand consists of 4 melts and 1 pair. A melt can either be a sequence or a triplet. A sequence are 3 consecutive tiles back to back in the same suit. Very important that they have to be in the same suit. So this is a sequence of 2, 3, 4 of characters, 6, 7, 8 of circles, 3 or 5 of bamboo. It has to be the same suit. A triplet is 3 copies of the exact same tile. So you need 6 of characters 3 times, east wind or green dragon. In general, sequences are a lot easier to form, and that's because, as I said, there's only 4 copies of each tile. And in a sequence, you only need 1 copy of each tile, while for a triplet, you need 3 copies of each tile. So triplets are much more rare, much harder to get. And a pair is, I think, self-explanatory. It's just 2 same tiles, not 3 as it would be a triplet. A pair is just 2 of the same tile. Then this is an example of a winning hand, alright? You have 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 5, 6, 7, and a pair of the 9s, and you also have a triplet of the green dragon. Now, very important to note is that this is not everything you need to win, and sometimes even if you do have 4 melts and a pair, you might end up with a invalid hand. Which is why I'm gonna teach you very quickly how to avoid that if you're just beginning to play the game, alright? So, this is how the game is actually played. At the beginning, you will be dealt a hand of 13 tiles. And then you draw 1 tile from the wall, which usually is like around the center of the table. In Mahjong Slow, which is the client that I'm using, it's not visible, but you just draw a tile, okay? You draw 1 tile from the wall, which is represented on the very right side of your hand. And after you draw a tile, you also have to discard a tile. It can be the same tile if you feel that it is completely useless to your hand, or you can discard any other tile in your hand. And by this series of draws and discards, you are trying to form, as I said before, the 4 melts and 1 pair. So let's just go over this hand a little bit, okay? We start this hand with this, which is already like a really strong. Like, this is a really good hand to start with, okay? This is kind of one of the dreams that you want to have. Because we have like 1, 2, 3 sequence here, 4, 5, which can be very easily formed. One little tip for you, very secret tip. You really want to try to keep these double-sided weights like 4, 5, because you can either get a 3 of circles and you can finish that sequence, or you can get a 6 of circles and you can finish that sequence that way. So these types of shapes, when it's like 4, 5, or like 2, 3, or like 6, 7, are really, really good. You should probably hold on to those. So we have that. We also have a 2, 3, 4 here, which is another just completed sequence right from the bat. And we also have a pair of the 5, so we are very close to forming that winning hand. We also have a south wind, and we draw the white dragon as our first tile. Now, again, as a beginner, what you want to do is just draw and discard, okay? This time we're going to discard the south wind for reasons that I'll get to a little bit later. All right, and then just everybody does the same thing, okay? Everybody just goes around and drops their tile, and then it's your draw again. We draw the 3 of circles, which is, we're very happy about that, of course, because then that will finish this sequence over here. So now we have a 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4. We also have a pair of the 5s, and we're basically very close to winning, okay? So I drop the white dragon. Again, it doesn't really do anything for us, and we just keep moving. Again, everybody will just drop their tiles. This is a very interesting situation that we got here, all right? This player did something, all right? They did something, and all of a sudden, they grabbed this tile and put it into their hand. If you're a beginner, don't do that. I just want to be very clear with you, don't do that. Except for a few situations. I'll get to that a little bit later. This is because this is a clear way, like taking other tiles without knowing what you're doing is a sure way to get yourself into an invalid hand. So we're just gonna keep going a little bit. We draw the 1 of circles. Doesn't really help us. What tiles would help us, okay? We're 1 tile away from 10 pi. 10 pi means that you're 1 tile away from winning the game, okay? You're just ready to win the game. You just need 1 specific tile to finish your last sequence, pair, whatever. All right? Ideally, what we want to draw right now is something like a 3 of characters, because again, as I said before, you get that double-sided 2, 3, so we could then accept the 1 or a 4 to just win the game. Or with the 6, we can get like a 5 or a 7, and that will also be awesome. We could also get something like an 8, and then we would just be waiting on a 7 to finish it. Not really the best situation, but it would still be pretty close to winning, okay? All right, we're gonna keep going a little bit. Again, someone is taking other tiles. I'll get to that. I'll get to when you should, as a beginner, try to take tiles. There we go. And now we draw into the 3, which means that now we are in that position of 1 tile away from winning, okay? If I get a 1, I get a 1, 2, 3 sequence, and I finish the winning hand, right? I'm gonna have a 1, 2, 3 here. I'm gonna have a 1, 2, 3 here, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, and a pair of the 5s, and that's just the winning hand, okay? Now, when you get to this position, okay, as a beginner, your goal is to do this. There's gonna be a Riichi button, okay? There's gonna be a button that says Riichi. You just really wanna press that button because that is a sure way of winning, okay? If you press a Riichi button, you can guarantee yourself a valid hand, all right? Because, and this is where the important stuff comes in, your hand needs to have what's called a Yaku. Think of Yaku like hands in a poker, right? You can have a 2 pair, you can have a full house or something. It's just the way that you're gonna, first of all, determine the value of your hand, and second of all, just determine if you have a valid hand at all. Because unlike in poker, where you have a high card, so no matter what, you can theoretically still win if no one else has anything, in Mahjong, these patterns are a little more complicated. And the easiest Yaku to get, and the Yaku that I would just say, if you're a beginner, just use this. It's not gonna get you very far, but it's gonna allow you to start playing, okay? And then you can learn more, okay? We're gonna go through the different Yakus. The easiest Yaku you can get is this Riichi. Riichi is a Yaku that will allow you to win with absolutely any combination of tiles. You don't have to worry if you have a specific pattern in your hand. If you just have the 4 melts and a pair, you can call Riichi and you can always win. Now, the real kicker of this is that if you do take any tiles from someone else, you cannot call Riichi for that turn. So if you take some tiles, that will invalidate your hand, essentially. you screwed, and you cannot win no matter what you do. But if you don't take any tiles, you can always call Riichi and you're good to go. Now let's take a look at the Yakuza that I think you should know as a beginner, okay, other than Riichi, because I think as a beginner you should maybe sometimes take tiles, but I'll teach you how and why. Alright, so this is the Yakuza overview. And the one thing, what I'm saying that this guy will only get you started in Mahjong is that there are a massive crap ton of Yakuza, okay? So I'm not gonna go over all of them. I'm just gonna go over some that's gonna get you started in the game. So as you can see, this is the Riichi. Okay, if you start Mahjong Sol, which is the client that I use, and I think it's absolutely great, there is this question mark button that will just allow you to see all the Yakuza. So I think this is just a great way that you can just get an overview of them, maybe start learning them after you kinda know at least a little bit of what's going on. And now there are just a few Yakuza that I think you should know. Once again, Riichi. Like that is just the easiest way you can do, because your hand will be valid no matter what. Now this little thing here that's called like Menzinshin only. That just means you can't take any tiles. That's what I said. You can't take any tiles for this Yakuza to exist. And the other one that I truly want you to know is a Yaku High. Yaku High means simple Yaku. The simplest Yaku is a triplet of a dragon. If you have a triplet of the white, green, or red dragon, you have a valid hand and you can win with that hand no matter what. So if you get a chance to pawn or like take, that just means to take other person's dragon to finish up your triplet of the dragons, you can do that. And I would highly encourage you to do that, because that you can always win, just like with Riichi. You can always win if you have this in your hand. The other Yakuza is a little more complicated because it's tied to the seed wind and prevalent wind. Unlike dragon tiles, wind tiles will not always guarantee that you have a valid hand, because they have to be either the seed wind or the prevalent wind. What do these two things mean? Let me show you a little bit. So we're going back to the same hand that we just did. I'm just gonna get to the turn that we ended at, which is this Riichi. Okay, so the winds work as follows. As you can see, this player pawned the east wind. Pawn means take another person's tile to form a triplet, okay? You don't have to really worry about these like specific terms, all right? They basically took it. How can you take another tile? If someone else discards a tile that you need, like here, you know, you have a pair of the east wind and someone discards the last tile you need to form a triplet, you can call pawn, which means you're gonna take that tile and add it to your hand. Once this tile is in your hand, pawned, you cannot touch that tile for the rest of the game. This will just stay here for the rest of the game, which is why it's very easy to invalidate your hand if you do this without knowing what you're doing. Now, east wind was perfectly fine to pawn here because we are in the east round, like in the very middle of the table. You're gonna see the prevalent wind, like the round that we're in right now. We're in the east rounds, which means that the east wind, if you pawn it, no matter who pawns it, it's a valid Yaku, and you will be able to win this hand no matter what. But for example, if this player pawned the north wind, they would basically invalidate their hand unless they would have another Yaku in their hand. However, if this player somehow had a pair of the north winds and they pawned the north wind, they would still be able to win because they are sitting in the north seat. In the bottom left corner here, it might be displayed somewhere else in your client if you're using something else or playing Yakuza games. I'm not exactly sure where, but there will always be an indicator somewhere which seat you are sitting in. So this player is sitting in the north seat, which means that they can pawn the north wind, get the triplet of the north wind, and they will be able to, once again, win this hand no matter what the rest of their hand will look like, because they will have a valid Yaku. And if you really want to start playing Mahjong, I think those two things are the only things you need in order to like start playing. Of course, this is not gonna get you very far, and very soon you're gonna still need to learn some more Yakus if you do want to actually advance in the ranks and actually like win more often and whatnot. But just to basically start the game, I feel this is all you need, because that's how I started. I started like this, and it was all I needed, and I still had fun, and that's all that matters. All right, another very important thing here. All right, now I dropped the Riichi. This is where we ended with his hand. All right, and this player calls Chi, which is different than pawn in that a Chi basically means that you are finishing a sequence, okay? Pawn is when you're finishing a triplet, like here of the green dragon. I should probably note that the dragon tiles and the wind tiles can only form triplets. You can't make a sequence of the dragons. You can't have like green, white, red dragon. They can only form triplets. Same with the winds. The honor tiles, as they're called, the dragons that winds, can only form triplets. So they're a little bit more difficult to use, which means if you start the game with some honor tiles, they are probably one of the first ones to get discarded because you just need to draw another one of the same tile if you want to guarantee to get something out of them. So a Chi is finishing up a sequence. So this player over here, as you can see, I dropped the 6 to call the Riichi. And they can cheat because they have this 5-7 and they really need that 6 to finish up this 5-6-7 sequence. So they do that. Why can they do that? Well, they already have the green dragon pawned, which means that they do have a valid hand no matter what, because they have the Yaku of the green dragon. So once you pawn either the dragons or any of the relevant twins, the prevalent twin over here in the middle, or your C twin in the bottom left corner, you can go nuts. You can just take any tiles you want and you will not get into any trouble just with invalidation of your hand. All right, you can just go nuts. Now Chi is a little more niche because you can only Chi, or finish a sequence by taking another person's tile from the person on your left, from the person that last played. You can't if like for example this player dropped the 6 of characters, they would not be able to Chi. Like I would not be able to Chi in this position. You can only Chi if it's the player on your left. Alright, yeah, and after Chi, of course, has to discard another tile. This player discards the 9 of characters, and now they are in 10 pi, which means 1 tile away from winning. They have a 1-2-3 sequence, they have a 5-6-7 sequence over here, they have a triplet of the green dragon, and they have a pair of the 8s. They are just waiting to finish up this sequence over here, either by getting a 3 of circles or by getting a 6 of circles. Now, here comes the part that will make you probably experience a lot of misery when you're going to be playing Riichi Mahjong, but that's just the part of the game. And that's the fact that if someone else now discards one of the tiles that this person is waiting for, so either the 3 of circles or the 6 of circles, this person will be able to win off of that tile. They will get to call a Ron, which you will hate. That's like the word that will trigger like PTSD whenever you hear it in any sort of other situation. You will never be able to watch Harry Potter ever again. If you discard a tile that this player is waiting for, so for example, if right now this person would draw the 3 of circles, they would drop the 3 of circles, then only they would lose points based on like how valuable this hand is. If I draw the winning tile, if I drew the 3 of circles right now, I would get a sumo, which is just you draw the winning tile yourself. And if that happens, everybody loses points. Except for you, of course, you gain the points. So now we are kind of in a waiting game. Now we're kind of in a waiting game. Now the real fun part is, okay, is that when you call Riichi, you can no longer change your hand. When you call Riichi, all that you're allowed to do from now on is draw a tile and discard a tile. You cannot do anything else for the rest of the game. So either you draw the winning tile, someone drops your winning tile, or maybe you sadly draw like a really bad tile that you really don't want to throw because you fear that someone else will win off of it. You can't do anything about it. You have to throw it, because once you call Riichi, you cannot change your hand anymore. You're just waiting for these specific tiles to win. For example, here, I draw the red 5, which is a valuable tile. I'm gonna get a little bit into it, why, a little bit later. But sadly, I can't really keep it because I already called Riichi, so I have to throw it. Now, if we go a little bit later, we get very nice and lucky because I draw the 4 of characters, which I need to finish this 2, 3, 4, and I do get to call Sumo, because I did win this hand, and it was a really good hand. And I'll get to that a little bit on how you can increase the value of your hand if you really want to get a really, really valuable hand like this one for 18,000 points. One way that you can increase the value of your hand is stacking Yakus. The more Yakus you have in your hand, the more points you get. But again, if you're just starting out, you're not really gonna know a lot of Yakuza, so you might get like multiple Yakuza in one hand by accident. It can happen. It sometimes happens to me as well. It happens to everybody, okay? But there's a much easier way that even if you don't know many Yakuza, you can very easily increase the value of your hand, and that those are the Dora tiles. As you can see, I have one Dora, one red 5, and I got one Ura Dora, which I don't think I should really get into it. Just sometimes you will get more points if you get an Ura Dora. There's a hidden one here, but you only get to see those hidden ones when you call Riichi. Now, what is a Dora tile? Well, a Dora tile is a tile that's more valuable than the others for just this specific round. Okay, for just this one specific round of Mahjong, and they are visible right here in the top left corner. In Mahjong Soul, of course. Once again, if you're using another client or you're playing Yakuza, it might be somewhere else, okay? Just look for it, all right? It's gonna be somewhere. And for example, here, we have this tile over here. This is called the Dora indicator. And a very important thing to note is that this tile is not the Dora tile. It is the tile that follows it. So for example, here, the 3 of bamboo is the Dora indicator, which means the Dora is the 4 of bamboo, which we have right here. So we're very happy because we do have one Dora in our hand. Each Dora increases the value of your hand by 1 Han. The more Han you have, the more valuable your hand is. I'm not gonna go exactly into how the scoring works because I don't think it's very necessary. Just the more Han you have, the happier you are. I think that's all you need to know. And in addition to just regular Dora tiles, which here is the 4 bamboo, there's also red 5s, which is just a 5 of a specific suit that's red. There's only 1 copy of each. If you remember, I said that there are 4 copies of each tile. 1 of them is red. There are some rules that don't use red 5s, but I think most clients that you're going to be playing with do use the red 5. So again, it just serves as a Dora, but it's always the Dora. Good thing in Mahjong Soul is that the Doras sparkle, so it's very easy to notice which tiles are more valuable. So just keep an eye on that. So once you do win, like once I call Sumo here, for example, say Sumo, the points get counted in a very specific way that you probably don't really need to worry about too much for now. I think it's a little bit early for you to know exactly how the points get calculated. So for example, here I Sumoed, which means everybody else loses points and I don't. And then the game continues with another round. If you're starting off, you're probably gonna be playing East rounds, which means that you're only gonna be going through East wind rounds. For a round to be completed, basically all that needs to be done is that everybody needs to be the dealer. The dealer is the east wind seat. As you can see, it's marked in a very special red way here. And that just means you start the game, okay? So you're the first person to discard a tile at the beginning of a game. But there's also like a hidden purpose for being the dealer. The dealer gets more points if they win for like the same value of hands. So if you are the dealer, you should really try to win because you're gonna be much happier than if you win in any other seat, trust me. Also, what's really fun is that when the dealer wins, this round counter doesn't advance. You stay the dealer. If someone else wins, the dealer seat moves counterclockwise. And once everyone's been the dealer, so we're in East 4, which means 4 people have been the dealer, which means this is the last round, in theory, for playing East rounds, which is how you will probably begin. Then the game ends. Usually. There's a little bit of another thing where the game might not end, but again, I won't be going into that for now. I will show you one more hand that we get to call Riichi with as an example to really like get you in like recognizing exactly the pattern. So this hand can call Riichi now because it's 1 tile away from winning. I only need to draw 1 tile in order to win. How will you ask? Well, I do have this 3, 4, 5 sequence. That's my first melt. I have this random 8 of characters, which is sadly the Dora that I do have to discard because it's the tile that is not used for anything in this hand. It is a shame, but it is what it is. Then this is really weird, right? Because it looks like I have a triplet of the 7s. But I don't actually have the triplet of the 7s. Why? Because I have a 7, 8, 9 here. I have a 7, 8, 9, and the 7, the 2 7s are actually used as my pair. Like, being able to recognize these kinds of shapes is how you slowly but surely gonna become a better Mahjong player, okay? So I have a pair of the 7s, I have a 7, 8, 9, I have a triplet of the East Wind, which is really nice because it is the East round, which means that this hand now gets one more Yaku, which means one more hand, which means it's more valuable. And now I draw into the 4 of bamboo, so I have this 4-5 here, which means I can either get a 3 of bamboo to win the hand or 6 of bamboo to win the hand. So I just call Riichi. So now, if we are in this position, I now have a hand that's worth Riichi, which is 1 Yaku, and I also have the East Wind as the prevalent wind, which is another Yaku, so it's already more valuable than the last one. And this is just kind of how you're gonna slowly but surely get more into it. So for example, this poor soul right here draws the 7 of characters, which they feel they will help their hand over here because they can now get like a 7, 8, 9, and 5, 6, 7, and they think that's really, really nice. So they threw away the 3 of bamboo. Unbeknownst to them, sadly, that is exactly the tile I need. And as I said before, when someone else discards the last tile you need while you are in 10 pi, which is just 1 tile away from winning, you get to you get to call run and just slurp their points, only their points. And as you can see, as I said, this is a Riichi, and it's also prevalent wind because we have the triplet of the East Wind. We didn't hit an Dora, which again is the hidden Dora that is under the original Dora. You can only access those if you call Riichi. That's just what it is. I will give you one word of warning, okay? One last word of warning before we kind of wrap it up a little bit. As you may notice, there are way more Dora indicators than just the one that's over here. And you're wondering, oh dear, how am I gonna get access to those? Well, there's a little bit of a feature called Khan. And my advice, if you're starting off Riichi Mahjong, is to never click the Khan button, okay? Just pretend that the Khan button doesn't exist. It can reveal those Dora tiles, but just do not use it, because you can run into a lot more problems than it's gonna be worth for you at the beginning. Once you think you grasp the basics, then you can learn exactly what types of Khan there are and how to use them, okay? Before that, just avoid the Khan button like it's the plague, alright? One little bit of note that I think you might be asking is this. For example, now the Dora indicator is the South Wind. And I mean, of course it makes sense when it's like a 4 of characters, and the Dora is the next tile, so it'll be the 5 of characters will be the Dora, right? That will make a lot of sense, but what if it's a wind? Well, there is a very easy way for you to determine the order of the winds. Basically, the winds follow the order of play. So if it's the South Wind, you can just look at the board and see, oh, I'm in the South Wind seed. Okay, so the next one over is gonna be the Dora, so that's the West Wind. And so the Dora for this round is the West Wind. Just the winds just go counterclockwise, is the next wind in order of play. But the very keen of you might be asking, but what if the Dora indicator is the dragon tile? What then? Very easy to remember. Again, they go in alphabetical order. So if the Dora indicator is the green dragon, the Dora is the red dragon. If it's the red dragon, is the white dragon, and if it's the white dragon, it loops back around and is the green dragon. And now I will give you the very last tip for those of you who wanna start off with maybe a little more knowledge and they maybe wanna try to get a little more freaky with it. I'm gonna give you one more Yaku that is very common and still relatively easy to do, but you have to think about it a little bit more than just, oh, I'm gonna pawn a dragon tile. That is the all simples, also known as Tanyo. All simples is just a hand without any terminal tiles. Terminal tiles means 1 or 9. So you can't have any 1s in your winning hand, you can't have any 9s in your winning hand, and you can't have any honor tiles in your hand. So you can have no winds and no dragons. It doesn't matter if the wind is not a prevalent wind or your seed wind, you just cannot have any winds, any dragons, and only tiles from 1 to 9. If you wrap your hand around that, you are allowed to chi and pawn. So basically, if you're starting off, if you chi or pawn a 1 or a 9, you're probably gonna be screwed. Let's just put it that way. Again, I think it's a little more advanced than what I started with. I didn't know about all simples, but if you want to get a little bit freaky with it, you can go ahead. And I would say those are the very basics of Riichi Mahjong. I know it's complicated even now. I'm like, oh, these are the basics? Are you serious? I have no idea what's going on. The best way to know what's going on is to just start, play a few rounds, maybe watch this video a few more times over, It's gonna give me watch time anyway. And then you might be able to get a little bit more into it. You're gonna start understand a little bit more. And then, you can be like, oh, maybe I can learn some more Yakuza. Maybe I can learn what the mixed triple sequence is, what the pure double sequence is. And then you're gonna be off on your merry way into becoming a sane level player. I'm still expert. I'm not the best Mahjong player, okay? You're not watching a guide by someone who's like absolute incredible at Mahjong, all right? I'm just okay. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can post them down in the comment section below, or we have a Discord where you can go and you can ask me, and there's gonna be a very live experience with that, so you can also go over there. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all maybe in the next video. Bye bye for now, and happy Mahjong.